Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the second video in this series. I'm not sure how many videos I'm gonna do in this king and pawn principles series here, but it's gonna be very good. That's all I can tell you. Is I'm gonna try to at least do 5 videos per segment, which has, for example, king and pawn, king, pawn, and knight, king, and just material imbalances, queen versus rook and bishop, for example. So that said, what are we going to talk about today? So the first thing I want to talk about is let's just take a look at the position at hand here. And the first thing I want to talk about is general conventions, general rules. Okay, general, convention tells us that if your king is far advanced, that's what you want to achieve in an endgame, particularly king and pawn endgames. King activity essentially means everything, and that is true. And if we look at the position here, black has his king far advanced. However, white does have an extra pawn, and with that extra pawn, he can use that pawn perhaps to his disposal. Now, the idea here behind this whole endgame here is that it's an idea that Dvorsky made. This is coming straight out of his book called Widening the Beachhead. And what is widening the beachhead? Let's think about if several boats attacked a beach and that was being defended. You might only have one port of entry onto that beachhead. But however, as you got men onto the shore and began fighting off the defenders, well, you could widen your area of scope, so therefore more boats could dock simultaneously, and you could have more activity. So basically how that relates to king and pawn endgame is just that. You want to kind of clear out some ways that when it's all said and done, is that you will have a strategic advantage based on your activity and based on the widening of an area that will open up to you, so you can then use that to your advantage with that activity. All right. So now this position here at hand, this is right here is not a study. It's not a composition. This actually occurred in the game in 1986 by Yarmolinsky versus Komarov in USSR. Well, if we take a look, we can assume, okay, white has an extra pawn. Maybe he's about, maybe only he could fight for a win. However, black's king is very far advanced and the white pawn is double. So let's just say if, white wanted to sacrifice a pawn with, say, d4, this would not go well, because obviously now black has some opposition here, and if white was to push forward and come here, I don't even have to go through this endgame. In fact, not go there, but king go to d3. I mean, white would actually lose this game. Okay, so let's just go back here for a second. Now, because if you think about it, there's only 2 real possibilities of necessarily winning this game here. That is to sacrifice a pawn here for black to widen the beachhead. And that's the idea you want to remember. How can I, get rid of some pieces, but also be in the resulting position active and can also threaten my enemy pawns and win the game. So now we take a look at the next move, which is pawn to f4. Now take a look at this. You say, all right, black's king is in check. He also has a king and a pawn defending that square. So obviously black is going to take. I mean, because any other move wouldn't really make any sense, right? So now, instead of taking back with the pawn from white, think about it. You just push f4, so what did that do? That vacated f3. So if you think about now, if you shift this over, now instead of white recapturing the pawn and move his king over, he's getting a bit closer to having sort of an opposition here. And that will, excuse me, And also, if you stop right here and take a look at the, just do a little calculation training here. Black takes the pawn, white takes pawn. It's going to be black to move, not white. So what that means is that the only moves for the black king is d5, d6, e6, and f6, and any one of those moves is going to allow the white king to move forward. Now you begin to see how this widening beachhead should work. So let's go ahead and execute those moves. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. Now it's black smooth. Anywhere black goes, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's all going to result in the same thing. Okay, so because for example, if black goes, say, here to d5, king is going to step up. White king is going to step up to f4 when king goes back. Now, now you're at the next phase of the game. How do you widen this beachhead? Now, if you think about it, if you magically took away the e3 and f5 pawn and it was white to move, all he had to do is step over to e4 and gain the opposition. And therefore, he's just going to keep stepping over laterally to that opposition and eventually take the c4 pawn. So when you're studying these things, just try to think about, just calculating. Don't just make the moves looking at the book. That's why the physical board is important. So now when white pushes, it's the only real logical move here. King takes, king takes. Now this is the resulting end position. And in this position, actually, I believe, if I'm mistaken, black resigned the game, because take a look. It is now white who has the upper hand, who has his king further up the board. And also, very next move, black is going to lose the c4 pawn and thus going to lose the game. But if we go back to the original position, so now look at the digital board, you can see the original position. Now compare that to this position here. It's not so easy to get from that position to this position without knowing these ideas. So the idea is that the two main ideas that I would say to remember from a study like this is that if you have a king and pawn in game and you have a cluster of pawns where one side has more pawns than the other, consider sacrificing a pawn. And when you sacrifice that pawn, maybe think about, is that going to let me vacate squares so I can get my king to a better position, such as what white did? And also think about the widening of the beachhead, because right now, if you think about it, white has a very narrow path to get onto that beach. But once he's onto the beach, because if you look at the digital board here, you'll see that's a very narrow path to get onto that beach. Look at the physical board now, you will see he's on that beach and he's widening the beachhead, and now he's able to laterally step over, take the c4 pawn, and win the game. Now that's that lesson there. And what else I want to show you here with forward chess is that if you look down here in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, you'll see a green, blue, red, and yellow square with an emoji in it. When you click that, it puts the book in what you call quiz mode. So you can pick which side you want to play. You don't have to play the winning side. All right, so we're going to pick the winning side. So we're going to execute our move. So basically, this is a good way. Say if you got a position set up on the physical board and you're going through your moves and calculating, you can kind of use this right here as a check. So you can kind of see how you're thinking about the position and what's going on. So for example, we'll see that if we go f4, pawn takes, king f3, pawn takes, king over, king f4, pawn push, and that's pretty much the game. And it also gives you some data points to show you your accuracy, how many attempts you had, the correct attempts, your duration, and average thinking time per move. This is a good feature of this, having the best of both worlds, of actually having an ebook with an electronic board that you can actually use inside of the ebook, but you can also couple that with the physical board. So when we close this, it goes back to the book. Now, if we go down here below the actual diagram in hand that we're looking at, which is this. So another cool thing, any blue diagram you see, if you click it, it automatically puts that diagram back on the board as you just saw happen there on the digital board. So now we hit show high solution. Now, if you are trying to work your way through this on a physical board here, maybe you want to just look at a variation here and you don't want to mess up your pieces on the physical board, so you may have to go back and set it up. You just want to take a quick little sideline and just see. Let's just click C. You see C right here, the best option is to return to Yamanowski's plan. Let's just click. We're not going to worry about move 1 and 2. We're just going to, just for illustration here. We click this and it goes to that position where black went back to G3. You can hit the arrows. And basically they showed that they just repeated some moves and now he went back to F4. So basically, in other words, if you try sort of a triangulation method and it don't work before you actually ready to take the plunge and sacrifice the pawn, you could probably just do a shuffling move and see how it goes. So that's what this is kind of demonstrating you here. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video here. And again, the widening of the beachhead concept. This is coming from Dvorsky's Endgame manual. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please pick that book up because any serious chess player should have it in their library. And well, more to come. You guys stay tuned. Take care. Bye.